3. The location and changeableness of the heart of the earth. 31st December 1846. So where is this centre of gravity, or heart, of the earth? In the centre, not, what was already shown above, as also partly why not, which why not is still more clearly explained at the right place. The centre of the earth, that is, the centre of the measure, would certainly be the easiest and safest to indicate as the place or location of the centre of gravity, because it must occupy a securely immovable place for all times. For as long as the earth remains what it is in the same form, size and shape, the centre of the measure must also always remain one and the same. But it is not so with the centre of gravity of the earth. Of this one cannot say, here or there it is located, but it is soon there and soon there. Its position can be subject to very significant changes. The inner disposition of the earth's body is such that through it, the centre of gravity can take its working place on the north side as well as on the south side, according to its nature. But a fixed tension of this working substance, by which alone the centre of gravity of the earth is conditioned, is not to be thought of at all. That this vitalizing centre of gravity is not only visible in the body of the earth, but also in other bodies on the surface of the earth, you can easily see in many plants, as there are trees, shrubs, and other plants of all kinds. If you look at a tree, you will easily notice that its growth, as well as its fruitfulness, tends sometimes to one part, sometimes to the other. In this year it will sprout luxuriantly on the northern side, but on the southern side everything will be weaker. In another year, you will discover a striking polar change in the same tree. Its south side will be the most luxuriant, whereas the north side will look stunted. Also, soon on one side of the tree, soon on the other, more or less dead branches or twigs will appear. Thus, soon on one side of the tree, soon on the other, the foliage will wither sooner or later at autumn time. Behold, these and many more such phenomena on a tree have one and the same reason, namely, the always changed position of the vitalizing centre of gravity, or the actual vitalizing positive polarity. The same case also occurs naturally with other plants and vegetation. You will certainly ask why this vitalizing centre of gravity is thus variable in the bodies. The reason lies very deep. If an existence of matter would be its purpose, then this polar emphasis could also be put in such a way that matter would always have to remain the same what it is. The apple tree would remain an apple tree in eternity, and so everything as what it is. But it would not be much better then for the apple tree and the plant than for a diamond. For where this polarity is more and more fixed in a body, and almost coincides with its centre of measure, the more solid and durable the body becomes. But this very body, because of its fixation, is no longer capable of anything else, but only for its own unchanging continuation. And it would look quite desperately meagre with the food for the living beings on an earth body if these should reap their food fruits from diamond trees and such other plants. In the same way, it would be very hard to live on a diamond earth body. From this explanatory description, everyone will easily see the reason why, for natural reasons, this polar vitalizing center of gravity must not be fixed, but be variable. Just as the blood in animals, as well as in man, represents something similar to this center of gravity. A fixed blood, and even more so a fixed heart, would certainly not serve any living being. In the animal bodies, however, which have free movement, the actual heart can already be given a more definite position, because the free movement of an animal body, as also that of man, already causes all kinds of reactions in itself, which, as is easily comprehensible, can certainly not be the case with those bodies which are not capable of any free movement. With these, the various necessary reactions must then be accomplished by the constantly changed position of the polar center of gravity. Therefore, the animal makes movements, as does the human being, and therefore has a more definite place for its center of life, namely the heart. But in the case of bodies which are not capable of free movement, have to have their center of life traveling around inside in a certain way in order to produce the appropriate reactions in all parts of the body. From this easily comprehensible representation, also everybody who is just somewhat pure in spirit will easily see that to determine the where of the center of gravity of the earth firmly would be not only flatly impossible, but a purely ludicrous and foolish thing. Only so much can be determined approximately for now, and at most for a next year, or at least acceptably indicated that the center of gravity is approximately in the area under Iceland, a part of Norway, Sweden and Lapland, is nevertheless so active that it can extend its pulse movement in a certain way, even to under Kamchatka, and also on the southern side into the area under the Mediterranean Sea. In an admittedly somewhat dirty animal, namely in a head louse, you can discover a similar phenomenon through a microscope by the movement of its vital sap. But of course, this can only be regarded as a slight similarity on the smallest scale. For animals on the lowest levels still have the most similarity to those bodies which have no free movement with respect to the instability of the living center of gravity. So much about the location of the center of gravity of the Earth. Next, we want to determine the further reason of such change of polarity in those bodies which are not capable of free movement.